From pulling massive mining loads to powering marine vessels across choppy waters, the Detroit Diesel 6110 was an industrial powerhouse. But was its untouchable reputation earned, or was it simply because no one could kill it? Don't miss the surprising truth. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What does it take to create a machine that becomes larger than life? For Detroit Diesel, it started in the post-World War II industrial boom, a time when bigger, stronger, and more efficient machinery represented the modern American ambition. The war had left behind not just a fortified economy, but also a rapidly growing demand for powerful, reliable engines to fuel the booming industrial sector. Construction was ramping up, highways were expanding, and heavy-duty jobs needed equipment that could work harder, last longer, and push boundaries. For Detroit Diesel, the challenge was clear. They needed an engine that could deliver exceptional power, that unrelenting kind of performance manufacturers demanded. This led the company to take a bold gamble. While most engine makers of the day stuck to the tried-and-true four-stroke diesel designs, Detroit Diesel made a radical choice: the creation of a two-stroke diesel engine. It wasn't just a technical decision, it was a defining one. A two-stroke engine operates differently from the more conventional four-stroke. Instead of requiring 4 steps to complete a power cycle, the two-stroke cuts the process in half. This meant the 6110, with its two-stroke cycle, could generate more power pulses in less time, giving it the potent punch needed for heavy-duty applications. At 660 cubic inches, the 6110's displacement alone made it a beast. It was designed to provide immense low-end torque, giving it the muscle to power everything from trucks and marine vessels to industrial equipment. It wasn't just strong, it was built to last. The engine's robust construction included thick block walls and oversized internals, ensuring durability was never in question. On paper, it looked like the ultimate solution. But as promising as those specs were, the brilliant engineering came with a price. With the two-stroke design came some notable quirks. While it excelled in raw power, it was far from subtle. Noise was the first giveaway. The 6110 produced a loud metallic scream, a sound so distinct that it became a badge of honor. For operators, it was a defining trait. They'd know the 6110 just by its unmistakable roar from miles away. However, alongside that signature sound came inefficiencies. Two-stroke engines, despite their power, burned more fuel and ran dirtier than their four-stroke counterparts, trade-offs that users would eventually have to accept. Adding to the engine's bold design was the centrifugal blower system, a cutting-edge choice at the time. Its purpose? To assist with air intake, ensuring the engine sucked in enough oxygen to make the two-stroke cycle functional. Without it, the engine's ability to maintain power would have crumbled. The centrifugal blower became one of the 6110's most crucial components, something that set it apart from competitors. Its design was innovative and forward-thinking, but it wasn't foolproof. While it created room for massive air intake and better output, it also planted the seeds for one of the engine's most famous weaknesses, a flaw that would stress operators and spark endless debates about reliability. But we'll get to that a little later. Despite its imperfections, the 610 stood tall as an ambitious leap. Detroit Diesel had dared to go in a direction others wouldn't, and the reward, the engine's unmatched toughness, would speak for itself in time. Its imperfections weren't immediately apparent, overshadowed in the early years by the engine's powerful introduction to the industrial world. This machine wasn't just another engine, it was a statement. Detroit Diesel had created a workhorse that wouldn't just be used, it would be remembered. But not every bold invention escapes its battles unscathed. The centrifugal blower, that clever innovation, would test the engine's resilience in ways no one could have predicted. And the 6110's fight to prove itself had only just begun. Let's take a closer look at how one seemingly small flaw became such a defining part of its legacy. What happens when a groundbreaking innovation becomes a ticking time bomb? For the Detroit Diesel 6110, the centrifugal blower was supposed to be the key to delivering exceptional performance. Sitting at the heart of the engine's design, this component wasn't just a clever addition, it was essential. The centrifugal blower forced massive amounts of air into the cylinders, making the two-stroke operation possible. By spinning up to 10 times the engine's speed, it created incredible airflow, maximizing power while using minimal engine energy. For applications like marine engines or stationary generators, where the RPM stayed relatively steady, this setup worked flawlessly. It provided exactly what the 6110 needed, a performance boost that matched its promise on paper. But as soon as the engine stepped into less predictable territory, things started falling apart. Literally. The problem was variability. In industries like trucking, engines frequently operated under changing speeds and loads. This wasn't something the centrifugal blower handled gracefully. The rapid shifts in engine RPMs created moments when the blower's impeller spun uncontrollably out of sync. And when it spun too fast, it met its breaking point. Quite literally. The impeller would overspeed, tearing itself to pieces in a catastrophic failure. This wasn't just a small mechanical glitch either. Pieces of shattered metal launched throughout the engine bay and beyond, creating a scene that operators described as chaos. Trucks blasted holes through their hoods, and the sound of a failing blower, an explosion rather than a simple pop, proved unforgettable for those unfortunate enough to witness it. For operators, this design flaw was more than inconvenient. It was terrifying. Imagine being behind the wheel when the blower gave out, with shrapnel flying and the engine grinding to a sudden halt. It wasn't uncommon for drivers to feel unsafe with the 6110, knowing that each trip carried the risk of a catastrophic engine failure. Mechanics were just as frustrated. Repairing the damage from these incidents wasn't a simple task, and there was always the lingering dread that another failure could happen at any moment. The centrifugal blower, once a symbol of technical ingenuity, now symbolized headaches, danger, and a tarnished reputation. But no machine is without its quirks. The 6110 came with its fair share of frustrations, and many operators got to know them all too well. Oil leaks were a frequent issue. This wasn't the kind of leak you could just wipe up and ignore. It was the kind that could mark an entire garage floor in a matter of hours. Then there were the vibrations. The engine didn't hum, it shook violently enough to rattle bolts loose and keep mechanics busy with constant recalibrations. Above all, the noise was impossible to ignore. This engine roared with a piercing metallic howl, a volume that turned long operating hours into a test of endurance for anyone nearby. Yet somehow all these headaches added to its identity rather than detracting from it. Operators didn't just tolerate the 6110's flaws, they worked around them. Knowing that oil leaks were inevitable, many operators carried spare rags like they were tools. Vibrations? You tightened everything twice, and then again for good measure. As for the noise, some saw it as a badge of honor. That deafening scream became the sound of a machine that refused to quit, and operators learned to associate it with reliability rather than annoyance. The engine wasn't refined, but its ruggedness created a bond with the people who used it. Part of what made the 6110 so valuable was its versatility across industries. It could be found doing heavy lifting in mining trucks, where its low-end torque effortlessly hauled thousands of pounds up steep grades. The same characteristics made it ideal for construction equipment like cranes and excavators, which demanded constant, reliable power in harsh, stop-and-go conditions. Its longevity was legendary, often stretching across hundreds of thousands of hours without requiring an overhaul. Imagine an engine running reliably for decades, enduring endless heating, cooling, and wear while still refusing to quit. Some of this endurance came down to its engineering. The Uniflow scavenging system kept air moving efficiently through the cylinders, while the unit fuel injection system made it possible to keep each cylinder operating independently, reducing the risk of total failure. Even the loose tolerances, which allowed components to flex and wear, kept the engine running far longer than modern designs might permit. The 611 wasn't designed to be perfect, it was designed to last. Of course, the 610 paid for this ruggedness with inefficiency. It burned through fuel at an unquenchable rate, and its quirks kept maintenance teams busy. But its ability to keep running, even under the harshest conditions, was unmatched. This indestructible nature embodied an era when durability meant everything. The world didn't need delicate precision. It needed engines that could take a beating and still hold the line. The 6110 became more than just a tool. It became a symbol of resilience. And while time eventually caught up with it, its legacy still rumbles on today. The Detroit Diesel 6110 wasn't just another engine. It became a symbol of resilience. Its loud, leaky, and often flawed design didn't stop it from tackling some of the toughest jobs in history. What truly set it apart was its ability to keep going when other engines might have given up. Its legacy reminds us of an important question. Would you choose the quiet, clean engine that might fail, or the loud, leaky one that always gets you home? Sometimes what stands the test of time isn't perfection, it's persistence. What other machines captured that same spirit? Let us know your thoughts.